Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. This time, we're going to take a look at how the new red and green cards coming out of set 7 will impact the Dragon Ball Super card game. Kind of interesting how this time we got both red and green, but I guess it makes sense because we did get some dual color cards. And also, we also got the SRs in one shot, which normally they kind of hold the SRs off for last. So we kind of see the entire archetypes for what they're basically meant to be. So we'll just get right into it. So we got the Sun Gohan leader. People are probably going to be pretty hyped about a Gohan leader coming out because Gohan is a fan favorite, one of my favorites for sure. So this guy is a little weird for me. He's got an activate main, once per turn, burst 2, choose one card in your life, add it to your hand. If your opponent has 5 or more life, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So this is kind of weird to me. I don't really like burn damage in most games. I hated it in Yu-Gi-Oh! But this one seems a little more balanced because it only deals damage if your opponent has 5 or more life. So I can see this actually being a pretty good aggro leader in terms of things like playing against Janemba, where you're literally forcing them to take damage, and then you're swinging with big guys like Sankabo or Intensifying Power Trunks, things like that, going for some early aggro. So it's actually a draw 2 leader, which is really interesting. So you're forcing them to take damage, and then you awaken and you draw 2. You don't get that huge tempo play, which might be good for balance if this does turn out to be a pretty big aggro leader. So we've got Sun Gohan and Sun Goten, Brotherly Bonds, auto sparking 5. When this card attacks, draw 1. Auto, when one of your battle cards activates Alliance. So as of right now, before we see any of the rest of this list, the only one we know of is the Broly from the expansion set. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards with 30,000 or power or less and KO it. So that's almost anything in the game outside of like SCRs. Activate main, once per turn, sparking 5. Choose 3 cards in your hand and place them in the drop area. Choose all of your red and green battle cards. Then both the chosen cards and this card get plus 10,000 power for duration of the turn. So this actually seems like an insane aggro deck, to be honest, because if you can just go wide on the board, like something like Veggies comes to mind to boost the entire board by 10k, that seems actually really strong. So that seems cool. I hate how they do this with the whole pre-release system where they just double up on every card, but we'll try and skip through as fast as we can. Broly, new OG Broly leader, not Broly BR. Important to know. So he's a base critical, which is pretty interesting. I actually like that. We're getting a draft box Vegeta leader with base critical as well, and that's kind of neat. When this card is placed in your leader area, choose 1 dormant legend from your deck and activate it, so you get to start and play with a 2-drop field spell. When you list 4 or less, draw 1 card, untap 1 energy. So I know that OG Broly players have been asking for an untap leader for a while now. Unfortunately, it looks like you're only getting an untap 1 leader, but draw 1, untap 1, at least in the case of Skilless, has proven to be really good, so I think it'll be good here as well. So Broly Recurring Nightmare. When this card attacks, draw 1. Activate battle once per turn. Choose 1 card in your hand and place it in the drop area. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards with 10k or less power and KO it. So I know a lot of people are giving this leader some flack because the video game Gogeta leader basically does the same thing, but for no cost. But you have to understand this is an activate battle card, so you get a little bit more flexibility there. And if you have something like the Broly's Ring in play or the new 2-drop Paragus from the anniversary box, this does not cost you a card out of your hand. So it's kind of important to realize. And I'm sure that this is going to be a red-green deck, so you're going to be playing some of those OG Broly support cards for sure. Next up, Raditz the Oppressor. So we have Raditz finally seeing play in the Dragon Ball Super card game. I'm sure a lot of people are excited. This is basically a Kami or Borgos, and it's cool that Red's getting one. Sometimes untapping offensively can be a little bit degenerate. I still wish this didn't hit leader effects like the Mono Blue Trunks leader or Soul Striker or Golden Frieza, but I digress. It is what it is. These cards can be answered, I guess, relatively easily. Son Goku Heavenly Salvation. We got a 3-drop. 14k, that's pretty weird. Auto, activate this skill when you play Sun Gohan and Sun Goten familial bonds in your battle area. So that's not the leader, even though it seems like the leader's name. If Sun Goku Heavenly Salvation isn't in play in your battle area, you may play this card from your hand. Auto, once per turn, when this card is switched to rest mode by Alliance, if you only have Goku, Gohan, Goten, and or Trunks cards in your battle area, choose this card and up to 1 of your battle cards and switch them to active mode. So basically this is more Alliance support. So we saw the Gogeta in the expansion set that basically comes down for free when you play a card that's able to use Alliance. And this card does a similar thing, except it restands itself and another card in order to, I guess, be more aggressive. So pretty neat. Probably going to be a staple card because it's going to add that 14k power for a 5k combo and a free summon. So seems pretty solid. 3-drop Mach Speed Kaioken Son Goku. So this is a counterplay. So we're getting a whole ton of counterplay in this set, which is kind of funny because of how popular Minus Killzone is right now. But we're getting another counterplay in the form of a battle card for red here. We've got Mach Speed Kaioken Son Goku. So permanent, if a multicolor card is in your energy, you reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1. So it'll become a 2-drop counterplay. When you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards. It gets minus 10,000 power for duration of the turn. Then if it's your opponent's turn, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 5,000 power for duration of the turn. So basically, you can minus 15 the same thing, or you can minus 10 one thing, potentially kill it, minus 5 another thing, potentially kill it. That can be relevant against something like maybe Skillless, where they're spamming the board with little guys. Maybe relevant against something like Veggies, who knows. But this card is a pretty neat counterplay, although I don't see it being better than the counterplay we'll get to a bit later, except for the fact that it's also a 5k combo. Dependable Brother, Son Gohan. 4-drop 20k SR of the set. EX Evolved for 1 red and 1 colorless. Son Gohan Adolescence with an energy cost of 3. Now you do have to remember, we do have Son Gohan Adolescence from back like as far as set 1 and 2. So we got to see how all those are going to mesh with this card and this deck in general. Double Strike. For a 2 energy play, that's pretty solid. 20k Double Strike. Auto, when a card evolves into this card, draw 2. I like the sound of that already. And if there are no other battle cards in play in your battle area, choose up to 1 green Son Goten and 1 green Trunks Youth card with energy cost of 4 from your drop area and play them. So we got more of those in the set coming up. There may also be some of those. I don't know if I don't remember off the top of my head if there are 4 drops, but there definitely are green Gotens and Trunkses from previous sets. So we'll have to go take a look at those another time. Helping Hand Son Gohan. He is a counterattack permanent during your opponent's turn. If Son Goten and Trunks are in play in your battle area, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 2. So this is basically what you want to be evolving on top of. You want to have your Trunks and your Goten established from the sounds of it. You want to negate an attack with this card, so you're leaving some aggro, and you're going to evolve into it going into the next turn. Then we have Wilderness Training Son Gohan. So red finally gets their just 1 energy draw card. This seems kind of like pack filler, to be honest. I guess it's neat for draft because, you know, it's just a generically good card. However, we are getting the Raditz. It's basically a Borgos in this set. So unless there's going to be something that evolves on top of this or EX evolves on top of this, doesn't seem all that necessary. Exalted Trio Son Goten. So we're finally getting into the Gotens and Trunkses. Permanent, only 1 of this card can be played in your battle area. And if you have a Videl card in play in your battle area, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand and battle area by 1, so it'll become a 1-drop. This is interesting to note that it just says Videl, not really any specific Videls. So we'll see the Videls that we have later on, but you can play like the Videl Negate 1-drop from a World Tournament that will allow this to become a 1-drop. So, and it is a red card, so it gives it some flexibility, right? Auto, when this card attacks, if there's a Trunks Youth card in play in your battle area, this card gets plus 5,000 power and Double Strike for duration of the turn. So again, with 15k Double Striker, something we don't see very often, but seems pretty good. Seems pretty good. Not too bad for a little bit of an aggressive play. Then we have Last Resort Vegeta. He's a 3-drop, only requiring 1 red. He has Deflect, so I can only be scared of what his effect will be. We'll see. Auto, when you play this card from your hand and your leader card is a Raditz card, you may choose 1 card in your hand and place it in the drop area. If you do, choose 1 Powerball from your deck, activate it, then shuffle your deck. So it doesn't seem too busted, but we got to see what Powerball does to really make a decision on that. Exalted Trio Trunks. Permanent, you can only have 1 to play in your battle area, and if you have a Videl, it becomes a 1-drop, just like the Goten. And then Auto, when this card attacks, if Son Goten is in your battle area, this card gets plus 5,000 and crit. So again, decent 1-drop. Aggro going into like turn 2, turn 3 if you have the Videl established, but we still got to see what the Videl does. Going on to the next page, it's going to be a little bit of a longer one just because we are seeing 2 entire colors in this video. So Father Figure Piccolo, 1-drop. When you play this card, look it up to 7 cards top of your deck. Choose 1 Son Gohan Youth with energy cost 2 or less among them. Add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So this doesn't necessarily require a specific color. You can grab the 1-drop draw one that we just saw a little while ago, but another one that comes to mind immediately is the swap Gohan, the 2-drop Gohan with barrier. I don't know, maybe if you would play some red-yellow build, it would be potentially a thing, but this does grab the draw 1 card. Krillin, Unforeseen Savior. I love Krillin in the Piccolo gi. It's so sick. He's a super combo. If your leader's red and your life's 4 or less, draw 1. This is sick. I need 4 foils of this immediately. Then we have Exalted Trio Videl. So we're finally seeing what the Videl does in this deck. Auto, when you play this card, look up 3 cards on top of your deck. Choose 1 red or green Gohan Adolescence, Son Goten, or Trunks Youth card among them added to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is a searcher. Only searching the top 3, though, is kind of weak, but I guess you're going to play a crap ton of targets in this deck. So this is going to be one of your Videls to get your play started with your Goten and Trunks aggro, but also, like I said, you can play the 1-drop Videl Negate. That will work for this as well. Coco, Village Princess. Activate main, choose 1 card in your hand, place in the drop area, draw 1. So red is getting a Baby Pan. I can't think of the name right now, but Baby Pan from the Goku lineage archetype. Red's getting 1. I think the card's cool. It's nice if you play a lot of extra cards, a lot of 10k combos. You can cycle them out. I don't necessarily think this is going to be a staple in any deck immediately, but it is kind of neat. Coco's Grandpa, Village Oldster. When you play this card, choose 1 Koko from your deck, add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. This card honestly does not seem very good. It does not seem worth it to search Koko at all unless you get some crazy benefit off discarding. Elder Village Guardian. So this card's actually really, really cool because of what it does. So we'll just read it, right? Auto, when you combo with this card and your leader card is red, you may choose 1 card from your hand and place it in the drop area. Before I get into the rest of the effect, the additional discard is kind of unfortunate, but we'll see what the rest of it does. If you do, choose 1. Choose up 3 battle cards with energy cost of 3 or less, 3 or more, and power of 35,000 or less in your drop area. Place them at the bottom of your deck in any order. Choose 1 battle card in your opponent's drop area, return it to your opponent's deck, then your opponent shuffles their deck. So you get to choose one of those effects. Seemingly, this is an anti-mill card because you get to put 3 cards back into your deck. The additional discard cost is pretty unfortunate, but I guess it is what it is. A little bit of anti-mill help is pretty nice. I imagine that all colors will get one because I do know that green got one of these as well. I love this as a 2-drop 20k vanilla for red. Red skillless. I love that it's a dinosaur. That looks sick. Shaman Ritual Master. Auto, when you play this card, draw 1. So it's 2-drop Curiosity Son Goku. When a card in your opponent's life is placed in their drop area, so I guess when you crit them, you may place this card into someone's drop area. If you do, choose up to 1 red Natade Village Monster with energy cost of 2 from your deck and play it, then shuffle your deck. So, I mean, I guess this works in any crit deck, basically. You play this, you crit your opponent, you draw 1, and then you get to summon the Village Monster from your deck. That's kind of neat. You can do this in red skillless where you get to, like, 1-drop Intensifying Power trunks your opponent and then do some stuff. But I don't know. This is kind of a weird combo. I think this can be good, but not necessarily sure exactly how yet. Broly Counter Reversal. So it's a 4-drop red SR once again. Permanent. During your turn, this card gets plus 5,000 power and can attack battle cards in active mode. So a 4-drop 25k. Swinging at active modes. That seems pretty solid so far. Auto once per turn. When your opponent activates a counter skill, deal 1 damage to them. So your opponent really doesn't want to be negating this guy's attacks. You want to be out comboing this unless you can afford to take a damage. So kind of interesting. We're getting a lot more burn effects in this set. 2-drop Familial Bonds. This is a desire in all areas. So red is finally getting a new desire card. Interestingly enough, activate main if your leader card is red. Choose up to 1 red Saiyan card in your drop area. The energy costs 3 or less and 15,000 power or less, and play it. If you played a card, choose up to 2 Dragon Balls from your deck, add them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So this is actually an insane red Wish card. The only one I can think of right now, Wish leader-wise, the only one that exists at the moment is Oolong. So this will help you awaken faster on turn 2, combined with the Power Booster Piccolo from the Power Booster. But you're only tied to red Saiyans with energy cost 3-drop or less and 15,000 power or less. So I'm sure there's a whole ton of targets for that. Maybe we can spend another video looking at all the targets for that and talking about the applications. If you guys want to see a video about that, let me know in the comments below. Dormant Legend. This is the card you start with the new OG Broly leader. So it's 2-drop extra card, but you do get to start it and play for free. You can't place cards under this card except with this card's skill. When a card in your life is added to your hand or placed in your drop area during your opponent's turn, place the top card of your deck under this card. So basically when you take a damage, activate main. If there are 3 or more cards under this card, that is the cost. Place this card in your drop area, which is not the cost. It's just part of the effect. Choose up to 1 red Broly card with energy cost of 4 from your deck and play it, then shuffle your deck. So the reason I mentioned that it's that the cost is only having 3 cards under it is because if you have the 2-drop Paragus from the anniversary box, you don't actually have to sacrifice a field spell, and you can actually activate this card infinite times and summon infinite Brolys, which is actually pretty insane seeming. I'm not sure if they're going to errata that. It doesn't seem super broken just at the face of it because you can only play red Brolys with 4 or less, and I think there's only 2 in the set. But we'll see how that turns out to be. Counterplay for red. Finally, every card seems to be getting a preemptive strike of their own type. So Denial of Hope. Counterplay, if your leader card is red, if the battle card your opponent is playing has 20,000 power or less, it's played in its owner's drop area instead of being played. So I think that's really solid. A lot of powerful cards like Foreseeing Hit and other strong cards have 20,000 power or less. So being able to basically KO those, same thing with Path of Greatness, and send them right to the drop area is pretty good. The Final Guardian, we have a 1-drop counter attack. If your leader card is red, negate the attack, then choose up to 1 of your battle cards. Gets plus 5,000 power for duration of the turn. Pretty I mean, I guess putting a Senzu Bean on something is kind of neat. It's almost like an Unending Awakening, but for any battle card you control. If this card's in your drop area, you can activate it by paying its energy cost and removing it and 1 red card in your hand from the game, so you get an additional usage out of it when it's in your drop area, meaning you don't want to necessarily overwhelm this card. Auto, when you activate this card, you cannot activate another one for duration of the turn. So that means you can't use its in-hand effect and its in-drop effect in the same turn. That's definitely something worth noting. I think these cards are cool because they do get dual usage. This helps to get certain things like Gogeta 7, where they're getting rid of your hand. If you have these in drop, you can negate the attacks no matter what. That is pretty neat. But I think these cards are definitely not as powerful as the Sparking Negates, in my opinion. We're finally coming up on green, guys. We got Raditz leader. Again, I'm sure a ton of you guys are stoked about this guy coming into the game. Auto, when this card attacks leader card, your opponent chooses one card from their hand and sends it to their warp. So this is immediately, from the looks of it, a hand-controlled leader. You're not getting any advantage yourself on the front side, but you are taking your opponent's advantage away every single turn by making them get rid of a card every single time this guy attacks. And that can be devastating. I think it's going to really hurt this guy that you're not necessarily drawing a card every turn, but he does kind of mitigate that with his next effect. So activate main once per turn. Look it up to 5 cards from the top of your deck. Choose one red or green Raditz, Vegeta, or Nappa card among them. Add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. And if you added a card to your hand, choose one card from your hand and place it in your drop area. So really interesting there how you're getting a card of choice, but you have to get rid of a card, so you're not necessarily plussing. So every single turn you swing this guy, you're going to neg your opponent 1 before they take a damage. And then you're going to get to selectively choose a Raditz, Nappa, or Vegeta. But then you still do have to get rid of a card from your hand. But the other cool thing is that facilitates overwhelm, so that actually can be beneficial to the leader. So when you place 4 or less, choose an energy, untap it. And you don't get to draw cards. You only get to untap an energy. So I guess Bandai felt like they needed to balance this in that respect. When this card attacks a leader card, your opponent chooses one card from their hand and sends it to their warp. Again, you're not getting any advantage, but you are getting the ability to rip your opponent's hand down. Activate main once per turn. Choose one red or green sand in your battle area. Gets plus 5,000 power for duration of the turn. So every single turn you get a free 5k combo. I guess it helps mitigate a little bit of the lack of hand size. Other cool thing too is that because this guy warps your opponent's hand, he's not susceptible to Mercenary Tau. So I guess that is kind of something to keep in mind. Son Goku leader. When this card attacks a leader card, draw 1. So we're back to that typical effect that people weren't really a huge fan of. Awaken, when your life's at 4 or less, draw 1 card, choose one of your energy, switch to active mode, and flip this card over. So we got a Goku leader that can play Feet Kamehameha that untaps 1 and draws 1. Seems decent so far. I'm not in love with the front side, but we'll see the back side. Permanent, you cannot send cards from drop areas to warp, so you can't overwhelm. Auto, when this card attacks, draw 1. Auto, burst 7. When your opponent attacks with a card, negate the attack, and then negate the skill for duration of the turn. So once per turn, you can stop an attack by milling 7 cards. That's kind of nutty. It's also nice that, like, it's not once per turn. It's kind of nice that it doesn't matter what life total you're at. It doesn't burn a life. As long as you have enough cards in deck, you can survive something like Gogeta 7 triple attack, right? That is pretty neat. I do like that. However, it seems kind of hard to get flipped over unless there's some other crazy self-awakening cards in the set. Activate main once per turn. When your life's at 1, choose all of your opponent's battle cards or blocker and KO them. That's pretty neat. Does not get around barrier though, so barrier blockers will still work. However, things like Yajirobe 2-drop Revenge blocker are going to be KO'd by this guy. So we have the same leader, Raditz, Saiyan, and Arm. So another 1-drop SR, kind of scary because of the, Bardock the Progenitor, but let's see what he does. When you play this card, draw 1 card, activate main for a red and a green, place this card in its owner's drop area. If your leader card is a green Saiyan, which is really there's a lot of those in the game, choose up to 1 Vegeta card and 1 Nappa card with energy cost 2 or less and 10,000 power from your deck. Send them to your warp, shuffle your deck. At the start of your next main phase, play all the cards sent to the warp by this skill in your battle area. So you're basically going to play 1 card. You're basically going to play 2 cards going into your turn 3 for free. So let's see what those tend to be later on. We do have a 4-drop 20k Raditz. When you play this card, choose 2 of your opponent's battle cards, only cost 3 or less, KO them. Then your opponent chooses cards from their hand equal to the number of cards you KO'd with this skill and send them to their warp. So that's pretty insane. A potential neg 4 to your opponent from this Raditz being a 4-drop. The 4-drop is a little steep when you have things in the format like Victory Strike and things in the format like Shenron Gogeta, but just as far as green's considered, this is probably one of the stronger cards, and it seems really, really solid. Maybe if the Raditz deck can deal with Victory Strike in some way or can deal with Shenron Gogeta in some way, this card will be a pretty decent top end. However, not having double strike or anything like that makes it a lackluster finisher. So I'm assuming you have to go to the turn 5 to really make some use out of that. Unlikely duo Son Goku. When you play this card, look it up to 7 cards on top of your deck. Choose 1 Earthling or Namekian among them, add them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So a few things to note here. This is a straight up Goku, so you have fusion material, you have things to evolve over this, but it's a 3-drop 20k, so the stats are kind of weak. No double strike, no critical, nothing like that, and you get a pretty open search. You get any Earthling or any Namekian from your deck, but a 3-drop for a searcher is kind of strange, kind of weird. I'm not sure this card is going to be all that great. Son Gohan, Hope of the People, permanent. Only 1 Son Gohan, Hope of the People can be in your battle area. And if there are at least 1 Son Goten, Trunks, and Videl in your drop area, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 2. So yet another card you can EX evolve that red Gohan SR over. Then we have Son Gohan, Momentary Awakening. So this is another card you can search off that red Piccolo we saw earlier. When you play this card, look up 7 cards top of your deck. Choose one green Son Goku card among them, add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. So far, I'm not impressed by any of the Gokus we've seen, really. But this is kind of neat for something like the Kill Krillin strategy. This is basically indirect support for that because you get to search your Final Showdown Son Goku. You can search your Spirit Bomb Son Goku. I do like that ability of this card for that reason. Son Goten out adventuring. So I remember reading these before and liking their effects a lot. Let's see what they do again though. We got a 4-drop 15k Goten. EX evolve over a red Goten with an energy cost of 2. So basically those early aggro ones we saw earlier. When a card evolves into this card and your leader card is a Son Gohan Adolescence, it doesn't notice how it doesn't specify color. Draw 1, switch this card to active mode, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards, energy cost 4 or less, and KO it. That is insane. So you get to attack with the short aggro, and then you get to draw 1, restand this guy, and then KO a 4-drop or less. I think that actually is pretty bonkers. I'm not going to lie. I think that's a really good effect. We have a Great Ape Vegeta Energy Manipulation. This is a 6-drop green ape, so you cannot play it with March, just a note. Activate main. If there is a Power Ball in your battle area and Great Ape Vegeta Energy Manipulation is not in play in your battle area, play this card from your hand on top of Vegeta with an energy cost of 3. We saw the red one earlier. When you play this card, activate the skill until the end of your opponent's next turn. This card cannot be KO'd by skills or battles, or be removed from the battle area by skills. So basically, it's indestructible for a turn. That is interesting. When this card is placed in a drop area from battle area by a skill, so it's going to have to be a few turns later, you may choose one red card and one green card in your energy and switch them to rest mode. If you do, choose one Vegeta card that is both red and green in your drop area with an energy cost of 6 or less and play it. We're going to see that guy later. We got Vegeta the Cruel. This card is actually really neat as a counterplay. If you have a multicolor card in your energy, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1, so it's a 2-drop. When you play this card during your opponent's turn, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 4 or less, KO it, then your opponent chooses one card in their hand and sends it to their warp. So advantages over Preemptive Strike. This is a 0-5k combo. Your opponent loses a card out of their hand. However, this will not stop enter the play effects, which is really important to note. So while you will KO the card, you will not stop any enter the play effects. So that's kind of unfortunate. Not sure if this card's going to be super worth it. Probably going to be worth it in the Raditz deck just because of the hand control factor, but that remains to be seen, I guess. Trunks out adventuring. He is a 4-drop 10k blocker. Kind of weak, but let's see. EX evolve over a Trunks with energy cost 2 or less, so we know the Trunks, we saw it earlier. When a card evolves into this card, if your leader card is Son Gohan Adolescence, draw one card, switch this card to active mode. So the 4-drop 10k blocker is pretty underwhelming. I do like the Goten. I guess it's kind of neat that you can, like, attack with a little crit guy, and then you can put a blocker on top of him. I guess it's kind of neat. It does replace itself by drawing a card, so maybe it will be worth it. I'm actually really interested to craft something with this deck, definitely for sure. 4-drop Piccolo SR, some indirect support for Namekians, we shall see. Permanent, if you have a green Son Goku card with 20,000 power in play in your battle area, and this card is not in play in your battle area, you can play this card from your hand without paying its energy cost. Okay, so that seems a lot more worth it. We just talked about the Son Goku with 20,000 power or less that I thought was pretty lackluster, but you get to play a 4-drop next to it. So for 3 energy, you basically get to play 7 energy with the battle cards for free. Activate main once per turn. Choose one Son Goku card with 20,000 power or less, or more. Sorry, in your battle area. Place it in the owner's drop area. Choose one. You get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 2 or less, ignoring barrier, and KO it. If you KO'd a card, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand, places them in the drop area. Or you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring any type of cost, and KO it. So this actually makes that Goku a lot better. Getting to KO anything short of barrier is pretty solid. Getting to kill a 2-drop or less ignoring barrier is also pretty good, and then your opponent has to ditch 2 cards from their hand, but that will be susceptible to Mercenary Tau. But actually, you can KO the Tau and then just make them drop 2, so that's pretty good. We got a 1-drop Krillin Vanilla, probably not worth it in any type of skillless deck. We have a Yamcha Super Combo. If you're less than 4 or less, draw 1. If your leader is green, pretty solid. Not that we really need more of those, but now we have a TN green combo card that is basically the same thing as a Savior. It's the anti-mill card. Put 3 battle cards back in your deck or get rid of one of your opponent's battle cards in their drop area back to their deck. Pretty good. I assume that every color will get one of these, but we'll see. Chaozu Desperate Measures. We have a 1-drop with an activate main. Place this card in the owner's drop area. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 2 or less and KO it. That's really good, actually. 1-drop removal that isn't Son Goten Family of Justice for a 0-5k combo is pretty solid. I do like this card. It's pretty neat. It fills up Overwhelm. The one thing about Son Goten Family of Justice compared to this card is that while this card does cost an energy, it does hit 1 energy short of Son Goten, but it's not a 1-5k combo. So I do kind of like it. You're still going to use an energy, but if you need to combo it in a pinch, you can do that pretty easily. Yajirobe, lying in wait. When you play this card, choose a 1 Vegeta card with energy cost of 6 or less in a battle area and place it in the owner's drop area. So you can pick your own Vegeta, which is interesting. So you can basically proc its own effect to play the Vegeta from your drop or hand. You know what the Grade 8 Vegeta said. You can also use it to kill your opponent's Vegetas. So that's pretty neat. That's a pretty decent side deck card if that card ever becomes insane. Urgent Aid Kami. This is the Borgos for green. Pretty good, I guess. You know, it's going to be definitely a meta relevant card when untapping is going to be very popular. Nappa the Cultivator, activate main, choose 1 card in your hand, place in the drop area, choose 1 Cyberman from your deck, play it, then shuffle your deck. So you basically can summon infinite Cybermen, but you're going to have to discard cards. So this can actually be pretty insane later on if like they print stuff that gets benefits off discarding. That could be kind of problematic. I can see this being funny in Hurdigarn because you can ditch Minoshas to add legs, but it does require double green, so that makes it kind of weird in Hurdigarn. Cybermen, we got 1-drop blockers. You can play as many copies of this card in your deck as you like, so we finally have another Metacooler equivalent. When this card's KO'd, choose 1 of your opponent's battle cards, when it costs 1 or less, and KO it. That's pretty interesting. These are kind of self-destructing Cybermen, and that's pretty neat. That's a good blocker. Maybe the Nappa Saberman engine will be worth siding in some deck if there's a lot of 1-drop aggro, but we do already have a lot of answers to 1-drop aggro. So we have a 3-drop Broly, activate main. If your opponent has 3 or more energy, and you choose 1 dormant legend in your battle area, place it in the owner's drop area, play this card from your hand. So because that's part of the cost, I don't think you can do that if you have a Paragus 2-drop or a ring in your battle area. Maybe this bypasses that and just sends it to drop anyway. Maybe the Paragus or the ring protected. I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to wait on an updated ruling on that. If you guys know, let me know in the comments below. When you play this card for the duration of the turn, if your leader card is a red Broly card, you can activate its Awaken skill even if you have 5 or more life. That's pretty neat. I like these cards that let draw 2 Late Years Awaken early. Even though Broly's an untap 1, draw 1, I do think that's pretty neat. Double Sunday, we got Activate Battle for Raditz. It gets plus 15,000 power for duration of the battle. Then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 2 or less and KO it. So some generic removal that gives Raditz a pretty big buff. And it actually seems like this card works during either player's battle. So you can actually kill a 2-drop mid-battle when they're swinging at you. Maybe they're going all in for game on a 2-drop Krillin Trading Buddy. That's pretty good. That's just a good card. 3-drop Powerball Field Spell. However, the Vegeta can grab it from the deck. When this card is placed in the battle area, choose 1 green Grade 8 card from your deck, add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So you get to search the Vegeta immediately. Activate main, switch this card to rest mode, choose 1 red or green stand in your battle area, gets plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. So you got some free combo power there, but when you don't need the combo power anymore, when you need to go up into the Vegeta Ape, you have it at your disposal because the 3-drop red Vegeta gets this card gets the Ape, and then the Ape comes into play, I believe, for free on top of the Vegeta, if I do remember correctly. Hidden Power of the Saiyans. We got a 2-drop counterplay. Another counterplay for green. Considering we already have Preemptive Strike, let's see what this does. If your leader card is green, your opponent may place the battle card they're playing in its owner's drop area instead of playing it. So your opponent places the battle card. So this does not actually specify any type of cost. So you can actually use this to respond to any card being played outside of Deflect. That's pretty interesting. If they didn't, your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand, places them in the drop area. So this is basically a 2 energy. At the worst case, your opponent's discarding 2 cards. At the best case, you're stopping whatever play they're making. So this card's pretty neat. I like how it gives the opponent a choice, and it also does play into Mercenary Tau. So that's kind of unfortunate, but kind of good, I guess. For the greater good, counterattack, negate the attack if your leader's green, then choose 1 of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 1 and KO it. So this basically completely outclasses full power energy unless you are not playing a green leader. That's the only case you'd want to play full power energy over this card because this does the exact same thing, but it has a bonus effect if you're a green leader. If this card's in your drop area, you can activate it by paying its energy cost and removing it and 1 green card in your hand from the game. And same clause as the red negate we saw, you cannot activate this card more than once per turn. So good card, adds versatility. I do like how it kind of just straight up buffs full power energy. Again, but I'm not sure how good those those negates are going to be, considering that sparking negates exist. Sparking negates are so versatile and so free. They're so good. This card has a lot of people's attention. 7-drop Kaioken Son Goku Defender of Earth. This card's pretty insane. However, I will preface it by saying it's at earliest a 5 energy play. It's tied to red green, so you can't battering laser on top of this. You can't really stop Mutaito outside of Killy Zone. So with those things being said, let's see what it does. Deflect, already kind of annoyed by that, but whatever. Energy exhaust, so it comes into your energy and rest mode. Permanent, if there are 20 or more red or green cards in your drop area, reduce energy cost of this card in your hand by 2. So right away tells you kind of need some type of burst leader, whether it's, you know, the Son Goku from this set, the Kaioken leader from this set, or some other red or green burst leader, right? Funny enough, people are teching this with Babidi, at least like in some fun testing builds, playing Gogeta ramp into Babidi to play this guy. That is pretty powerful. When your life reaches 1 for duration of the turn, this card gains triple strike, dual attack, and can't be KO'd by your opponent's skills. Pretty cool how it's safe from like Shugesh pop or anything like that. It becomes a finisher when you reach 1 life, basically. Activate main, not once per turn, very important to know. Choose 1 card in your life, add it to your hand. Your opponent reveals their hand. Choose 1 card from it, place in the drop area, so you can hit negates, you can hit super combos, whatever you want. And this card gains 25,000 power for duration of the turn. This card is insane. This card is incredibly powerful, but like I said, it has flaws. It isn't tied to a color with battering laser. For one, it's a turn 5 play when we're pretty much ending games on turn 4 in the current format, so that is something to be aware of. However, this card is SCR power level, I believe. This card is definitely SCR power level. This is almost like the red Frieza SCR if you're playing red green. So this card's very powerful. I think this card's going to see a lot of play, especially in slower formats. We've got Son Goku and Piccolo, Budding Friendship, another 2-drop red green card. Funnily enough, and I think it's actually for a good balance, it looks like all dual color cards are going to have energy exhaust, and it looks like they're also all going to be 10k combos. I think that's very, very important as long as Arrival is a skill, because if you could just 0-5k a red-green card, it would be pretty busted. So I think the 110k is going to be pretty good for balance. However, it's going to be tough to put these in your deck because, you know, you don't want to be running too many 10k combos that are not going to be comboable in a pinch. And that's going to be a problem with the dual color cards. But we'll see how they go as the set comes out and more people mess around with them. So Alliance, red, green. When this card attacks, you may activate the skill by choosing 1 or more red or green battle cards in your battle area. Switch them to rest mode. This card gains power equal to the total power of the card switched to rest mode by the skill. And if you switch a Son Gohan Youth to rest mode using the skill, draw 2 cards. And this card gains critical for duration of the turn. So basically a very big 2-drop crit that will potentially draw you 2 cards on turn 2. That's pretty strong. That's pretty aggressive. I do like that. This does kind of hurt against something like striving to be the best Son Goku. But again, I do think that's a pretty cool effect. I like the big 2-drop crit pressure on turn 2. Son Gohan, Son Goten, Familial Bonds. We saw the Goku that plays off this for free earlier. Energy Exhaust, Alliance, red, green. This card gains power equal to the total power of the card switched to rest mode by the skill. And triple strike for duration of the turn. So a big triple striker for 4 energy. That's pretty strong. When you play this card, activate the skill for duration of the turn. Your opponent's, if your opponent uses a skill to play a battle card, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand and places them in the drop area. So that does trigger off like something like Shugesh into something that is pretty good. I mean, it's just an added bonus effect, a sort of layer of protection, although your opponent can still play something and kill this mid-battle, which would kind of suck. But it does go along the lines of that hand control that we're looking to see from this red-green archetype. Vegeta Saiyan Elite. This is what's coming off the Vegeta Ape when that card gets removed from the board by a skill. We have a 6-drop double strike, energy exhaust, auto once per turn when this card attacks. Your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and sends them to the warp. So that's a pretty powerful play. It seems like you can drop the Ape on turn 3 when you go into the red Vegeta. The following turn, turn 4, you can play the Yajirobe to KO the Vegeta. And then you can play this Vegeta, I think, from your drop area or your warp, depending on what the Vegeta said before. I'm kind of forgetting, but I know it. I'm pretty sure it said from your warp. Another thing you do too is play the Paragus 1-drop that KOs a green battle card, draws a card. That's another valid way to kill your own Vegeta without using too much energy. And this card's going to come in, make your opponent warp 2 cards from their hand. He also has additional effect that says activate main once per turn. If your leader card is a green sand card, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So that's some more burn damage. Pretty late game, kind of annoying, but I don't think it's going to be too problematic. All right, a lot of talking here. I think we're almost there. Broly, Tragedy Foretold, Arrival, red, green, energy exhaust. Permanent, only 1 Broly Tragedy Foretold can be played in your battle area. You can't play this card from any area unless Dormant Legend is in play in your battle area. When you play this card, choose 2 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier. They get minus 15,000 power till the end of the turn, so a little bit of barrier removal, I guess you can say, even though it might not kill everything. When your opponent combos, you can choose 1 card in your opponent's combo area and place it in the drop area if you do negate the skill for duration of the turn. So once per turn, you get to nullify a combo. That's pretty strong. That is pretty powerful. All right, we got one more page here, and we have just a few more cards. All right, we got Broly Rapid Barrage. Arrival red green. For 1 red, you bring this guy into play. He is also a target to summon off of your Dormant Legend. Energy Exhaust. Only one of this guy can play in your battle area, so you can't even spam him with Dormant Legend. And you can't play this guy from any area unless you have Dormant Legend in your drop area. Auto, when you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, gets minus 10,000 power for until the end of the turn. When your opponent combos, choose 1 card in your hand, place it in the drop area. If you do, choose 1 card in your opponent's combo area, place it in its opponent's drop area, then you get the skill for duration of the turn. It's not a super threatening card, even though you can basically summon it from the deck for free, but you can put that 6-drop Broly on top of this. Now we have the last card that we spoiled so far, a 2-drop red-green Broly, again a 10k combo. Looks like they're doing that for balance purposes. Energy Exhaust, permanent. If there is a card that is both red and green in your energy other than this card, negate this card's energy exhaust skill in all areas. So this is going to be your turn 2 charge. If you already have a red green from turn 1, this card comes into your energy untapped. So that's pretty powerful. I like how this only does it to itself and not to every other red green card, so maybe it's not busted. But this is kind of the thing that people were afraid of with energy exhaust, right? Once you stop enforcing energy exhaust, this stuff can be a little bit more busted, but I think it'll be okay. I don't think this archetype is too busted. When you play this card, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and places it in the drop area. Okay, guys. A lot to talk about here. We just read all the cards coming out. It was 6 pages worth of cards, and I don't know. According to the format we have now, I don't think that this stuff's going to be all that impactful for a few reasons. We have, multiple counterplays now that help you answer Path to Greatest Height of Mastery. But with that being said, Midas Kill Zone is incredibly popular right now because we already have Mutaito, because we already have Preemptive Strike and Cold Bloodlust. So that almost seems like a non-factor. Raditz seems like it's going to be a pretty solid hand control deck because it does play around Mutaito a good ton. You have removal from Mutaito. Your leader sends cards to warp. Your boss monster sends cards to warp, so you're not triggering Mutaito. That seems like it's going to be pretty solid. Hand control's been slacking recently, except for like Lord Slug here and there. But I do think that Raditz seems like a pretty solid hand control leader. I think he's going to kind of not be super great because he's not getting his own advantage on the front side, but that remains to be seen. I do like the Vegeta Ape combo. I do think it's really good. And I think the Gohan red leader is going to be a very, very good aggressive leader because you can awaken very quickly. You're making your opponent take damage they don't want to take. And then you're going to just go in and boost your whole board by a big amount of damage and just go in for game. I do think these cards are good. I don't necessarily know how much they're going to shake up the format. My opinion is not all that much, except maybe for the Raditz deck and the Red Gohan aggro deck. But those are just my opinions, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Joey. This is Crosswell TCG, and I'll see you guys in the next video.